It involves Dan McDonald, a Charleville farmer. Now, why this is relevant to everyone around the country is at the last election, Bill Shorten wanted to bring in, right around Australia, the same sort of draconian laws we have in Queensland prohibit farmers from clearing their own land. In this case, it's a 14,000 hectare property, as I said, Charleville, Western Queensland. Between 2013 and 2015, this farmer cut down mulga, so scrub, native vegetation, to feed his livestock in the middle of the drought. Sounds pretty humane, if not environmentally sound according to Labor, but it sounds pretty humane to me. Feed his stock. He was convicted of 6 counts of breaking the law, Labor's law on land clearing, fined over $100,000, money he simply doesn't have. It went to court. What was the outcome this week of his appeal against that conviction?
Yeah, I mean, this bloke, you know, he's broke. To get he's self-represented, so he's a self-represented litigant. To get to the hearing in Brisbane, he was donated fuel to drive here. He was put up by the Salvation Army, I think, overnight in Brisbane. So this is how broke this bloke is. And I think when it comes to prosecutions, there's 2 broad principles, and that is it in the public interest, and you know, is there a reasonable chance of conviction? Now, this farmer, he's struggling to feed his cattle. He's using mulga to help feed his cattle, mulga which is growing back, by the way, and he won't be able to, you know, survive unless he can feed his cattle with mulga. So the question is, you know, are these laws fair? They are confused. In Queensland, there are a lot of farmers who do not understand the rules under the Palaszczuk government. They are very confused. And I think last year when Scott Morrison went out to Quilpie, one of the first things that David Littleproud raised was, Anastasia Palaszczuk, please relax these mulga rules for these farmers. I mean, the outcome won't be known for a while. I think the Court of Appeal raised issues about whether they thought it was fair for this man to have to sell his farm to pay the fine. I'd say that these laws need to change, and if they were replicated, there'd be a lot of nervous farmers across Australia.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, it doesn't sort of stack up to me that a farmer on a farm now that's been reduced after years of drought to a value of about $200,000. He's a dad of 5. They are on welfare because they can't bring in an income in drought-ravaged Charleville. He cops a fine of $112,000 for cutting down native vegetation on his own land to feed livestock that would perish in any event without some sort of sustenance. Yet day after day almost in Brisbane, you've got 2-bit idiots who are paid on Newstart, some of them, and otherwise living on their parents' couch, I suppose, gluing themselves to roads and stopping peak hour traffic, and they front the courts and they're barely given a slap on the wrist before they're out there again and doing it. How does this add up?
Yeah, and I think you nailed it as well when you actually tied it back to Bill Shorten's proposed laws in the lead up to this very most recent federal election, and the manner in which these laws are often advertised to the public. It's about protecting the environment. But when you break down what's happened here, you've got a man, a farmer, who's been struggling with drought. He's been trying to feed the animals on his property, and he's come up with a solution. Now, if this solution that he has done is worthy of a $112,000 fine and a conviction in court, then the law is wrong and the law needs changing. It's that simple. We need to look at this from a point of practicality, and the very people that we need to be looking after the most are the people out in our regions who are doing it really tough with drought, and they should not be used, the environment should not be used as a pawn politically when we've got situations where people cannot feed their cattle because of drought. I find it pretty disgraceful, and I really hope Queensland addresses this soon.
Yeah, I might see if I can get him on the show. He's obviously before the Court of Appeal in Queensland to have that conviction overturned. We'll see what happens there.